Graduations are supposed to be a time of joy, of celebration, of reflection on a milestone attained. And for my kid, Caleb, it was just that. He had worked hard for this moment, and I was determined to be there, standing in the audience, applauding, for him as he walked across that stage. However, for me, it was something else entirely. As I pulled into the school parking lot, my grip tightened on the steering wheel. My knuckles grew white for a second before I forced myself to loosen up. Not today, Mark. Not today. This wasn't about them. This was about Caleb. Unless, of course, they were there. Samantha and Derek. I noticed them before I even got out of the car. The two of them stood near the entrance of the school's event hall like self-proclaimed royalty surveying their kingdom. Samantha, my ex-wife, had that ever-present aura of effortless confidence. The same one that used to captivate me, before I knew it was all just a well-crafted show. And beside her was Derek, her new husband, her purported upgrade. He was dressed a touch too fancy for a school function, his blazer practically screaming, "I'm important, ask me about it," and the smirks. My God, the smirks. They weren't just smiling because they were happy to be there. No, that would have been too easy, too human. Those grins were calculated. They were amused. They were enjoying this. Watching me arrive alone, playing the character of the outsider at my own son's milestone event. I sighed, running a hand across my face. All right, let's get this over with. I stepped out of the car, adjusting my tie and ignoring the tightness in my chest. This isn't for them. This is for Caleb. The second my feet struck the pavement, Samantha's eyes hooked onto mine, like a vulture spotting a wounded animal. I braced myself. "Mark," she cooed, her voice dripping with fake warmth. "Such a surprise to see you here," I almost laughed. A surprise? As if I wouldn't show up for my own son's graduation. I forced a pleasant smile. "It's his big day, isn't it?" Derek stepped forward, arms crossed, raising his chin slightly as he looked me over, sizing me up like he always did. "Wonderful. To see you still trying, Mark." I felt the rage coil in my gut, but I swallowed it down. I knew this game well. They wanted a reaction. They wanted to get under my skin, to make me feel small, to remind me that in their little story, I was the past, the failure, the abandoned aspect of Samantha's life that she had so readily replaced. But not today. Always, I stated simply, my voice cold, unreadable. The corner of Derek's mouth twitched. I noticed the flicker of annoyance in his eyes. He wasn't expecting that. He was expecting me to fumble, to snap, to make a scene. I turned away from them, scanning the crowd, searching for him. My son, my reason for being here. And then, I saw him. Caleb stood among a group of classmates, adjusting his graduation sash, smiling happily as he spoke with his friends. My boy. And just like that, the tightness in my shoulders slipped away. This was what mattered. "Caleb!" I called, waving him over. His face brightened when he spotted me. He jogged over, his enthusiasm radiating off of him. "Dad, you made it!" The words hit me harder than I imagined. Of course I made it. But the fact that he felt the need to say it, that there was even a fraction of hesitation in his voice. Damn. I pulled him into a hard hug. "Wouldn't miss it for the world, kid." "Mom and Derek got here early," he said, glancing over at them. "She's been chatting with some of the professors. You know how she is." I knew precisely how she was. Samantha was a master of perception, always making sure others saw her in the best possible light. The flawless mother, the cool and elegant woman who had gracefully moved on after our divorce. She was undoubtedly buttering up the staff, making sure everyone knew how involved she was in Caleb's life. It was her favorite trick, rewriting history in real time. "Well, you ready?" I asked, bringing the conversation back to him. "You nervous?" He grinned. "I got this." I laughed, ruffling his hair. That's my guy. However, just as I was appreciating the moment, she swooped in. Caleb, sweetie, Samantha, chirped, her voice suddenly shifting into that over-the-top motherly tone she used when there was an audience. You look so handsome. Come here, darling. Caleb hesitated for just a second before stepping forward. Samantha wrapped him in a hug, theatrical as always, making sure everyone in the vicinity saw just how caring and doting she was. Derek clapped a hand on Caleb's shoulder. Proud of you, kid. You've got a great future ahead. And just like that, I was on the outside again. They were adept at this, flawlessly closing ranks, making it look as if I were nothing more than an afterthought, a side character in my own son's life. I folded my arms, taking a steady breath. Let them have their performance. Let them put on their little show. It didn't change the truth. Caleb glanced at me from the side, sensing something. I gave him a reassuring nod. I'm all right, kid. Enjoy your day. Samantha turned back to me, her eyes bright with something sly, something victorious. Well, Mark, she said, smoothing down her Gucci dress. Since you're here, I suppose we'll be polite. For Caleb's sake, of course. I chuckled. Civil? That was rich. Of course, I stated, my voice even. For Caleb's sake. I wasn't going to fight them. Not here, not today. Because the reality was, they had already lost. They just didn't know it yet. I let my face soften, playing along with her game. Thanks, Samantha, I said smoothly. It means a lot coming from you. She blinked, just once. I knew what she was expecting. She was expecting bitterness. She was anticipating sarcasm. She was expecting the same man she had constructed in her head, the one who would dislike her, who would still hold on to rage, who would lash out in a way that would validate her well-formed story. Instead, I was offering her exactly what she didn't want. Calm, composure, control. Derek looked between us, visibly upset. He wasn't used to being out of his depth like this. So he remarked abruptly, What's next for you, Mark? What's the major plan? He was desperate now. I grinned. Yes, I've got a few things lined up, I added casually. A couple of major contracts, a forthcoming investment transaction. You know how it is. Derek scoffed. Yep, huh? Absolutely. Samantha narrowed her brows ever so slightly. She knew something was coming. I let the tension rest for a few seconds before delivering the final blow. Oh, I added, as if it were an afterthought. And I just signed a deal for a corporate expansion. Should be revealed in a few weeks. That did it. Derek's face slumped. Samantha lost her smile for the first time all day. Their smugness was fully gone. They didn't see it coming. I watched as they exchanged a glance. They were attempting to cover it, but I noticed it. The uncertainty, the temporary panic. They had assumed they had me pegged. They had assumed I was still trying to find my way. They had thought wrong. Samantha took a short, measured breath before regaining her composure. Well, she said, her voice still fluid but lacking its previous assurance. It seems like you have a lot going on. I nodded. I do. And then, for the first time, I was the one who walked away first, not because I was upset, not because I needed to flee, but because I had already won. Caleb's reaction. I made my way back toward the crowd. Caleb came up to me. He had been watching. Dad, he said, his voice interested. Mom and Derek looked so weird back there, I chuckled, clapping him on the shoulder. Did they? Yeah. He nodded. It's like they didn't know what to say. You kinda left them dumbfounded. I shrugged. Imagine they weren't expecting today to turn out like this. Caleb grinned. Maybe not. I stared at my son, my greatest triumph, and for the first time in years, I felt something that had long seemed unthinkable. Freedom. I had nothing to prove. Not to Samantha, not to Derek, not to anyone. I wasn't trying anymore. I was thriving, and the best part? They knew it. The power shift. For years, I had been disregarded, dismissed, written off. Samantha had done an amazing job of making sure that, in our shared social circles, I was considered the past, the less successful ex-husband, the man who was doing his best, considering everything he had gone through. She had sculpted that story well, too well, but now, today, that story was unraveling. At first, it was simply a few glances, a few parents staring in my direction with curiosity instead of pity, a few teachers offering courteous nods as they passed, as if suddenly realizing I wasn't just Caleb's dad. I was someone worth acknowledging. Then came the conversations. It started with Mr. Lawson, the investor who had praised me earlier, but it didn't stop there. During the little break before the last section of the ceremony, more individuals came up to me, folks who, under normal circumstances, might have walked straight by me to chat with Derek instead. "Mark, I read about your expansion plans. Excellent job. I wasn't aware you were making such huge strides. We should chat. I've been meaning to reach out. Your latest project is really making waves." One after another, people shook my hand, admired my work, asked about my business, and each time I saw Samantha tense. I watched Derek's jaw tighten, because for the first time, I wasn't just the ex-husband in the background. I was someone people were paying attention to. The shift was driving them nuts. Samantha tried, she really did. She wasn't the kind to let her mask slip easily. But today, she was losing control. I saw it in the way she kept staring at me when she thought I wasn't looking, the way she tensed every time someone else came over to shake my hand, the way she smiled just a little too much whenever a parent complimented me. "Mark, it's truly fantastic what you've accomplished," one of the PTA mothers said, smiling warmly. "I had no idea you were involved in so many initiatives," Samantha chuckled lightly, waving a hand. "Well, Mark's always been ambitious. He just keeps some things private." I turned my head, locking eyes with her. She was trying to recover the narrative, trying to make it look like this wasn't news to her, like she had always known about my accomplishments, like this was somehow expected, a part of her carefully manufactured image of me. I grinned. "Sure, I've been staying busy.